Good evening, everyone, and welcome tonight to day number 303 in our ongoing updates, coverage, and support of the war in Ukraine. Want to welcome you here tonight. I don't know about you, but where I live in Pennsylvania, it is frigid. Talk to Jania about that in just a moment. We do have him with us tonight. Almost 9:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:01 California, 3:01 Amsterdam, and 4:01 in Ukraine. Want to thank you for being here tonight on this update. Going to be a special time together, and we'll get started. Thank you. Thank you to the moderators, and thank you who all are a part of this great and growing community from around the world. So let's get to it, and good morning to you, my friend.
Good evening. Good evening to you, friends.
Nice to see you. You looking good?
Thank you. Nice to be here. With you.
Yes, sir. And got some interesting things we're going to cover tonight. Let me crank a little bit more light up there. I feel like I'm in the dark. Going to be a unique update because we're going to look at a couple of things that we've talked about, but some stories bring some closure tonight. One in particular we'll be talking about will be Mariupol. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Want to thank you for being up early when you could be with your family. So we love you, buddy. All right, here we go. I can tell you I'm preparing for Ukraine. I will be leaving a week from Monday to meet you in Amsterdam, but this is my car today, -3 Fahrenheit, not including wind chill. It's really, really cold here in Pennsylvania, and I know it's very cold and frigid throughout a lot of the United States tonight. So the difference is we have heat to come home to, and many Ukrainians do not. So it makes you think about it wherever you're at tonight. If you're here in the United States watching and it's cold at your house, just think about it for a moment. By the way, what's the temperature in Amsterdam?
+8, +9 was during the day of Celsius.
So nice and warm.
Yeah, it's okay. Not the winter.
Well, the weather up there in that region, Belgium, Amsterdam, Netherlands, even Great Britain, it's just weird weather.
Man, it's raining. Yeah,
anyway,
December.
It's cold here, and I'm getting prepared. So let's look at a couple of the things that have happened today. We've had some pretty big strikes going on both sides. If you see, well, let's look at the Russian side first, and then we'll talk about the Ukrainian side. Kherson has been struck 61 times in the last 24 hours. Targets have included residential buildings, infrastructure, and hospitals. Kharkiv, residential, has been hit, and Kramatorsk, city that we base out of there in the east and do a lot of work from, 2 schools and 12 of the high-rise apartment buildings have been hit in the last 24 hours. Of course, all military targets. On the Ukrainian side, Melitopol was struck, and there's a lot of action happening in Melitopol, which is a key city with a massive Russian base there, and Bakhmut. Ukraine made some pushes today against the Russian forces. And let me get your opinion on the strikes that have taken place, which is normal every day, the shelling. We're just bringing attention to these cities. And then I want to ask you one question about Bakhmut. So let's start with like Kramatorsk and Kherson and Kharkiv. Basically, residential, schools, and hospitals.
Yeah, like coming forward to Kherson, they're trying to terrorize people. For people would leave to Europe, and one of the reasons for people would leave its place. And it's one more time they're proving it's not about the city, not about the people. They're trying to destroy Ukraine, and they're trying to destroy everything where there is no Russian flag and in Ukraine. So I don't know. It was a strike of missiles, not artillery, because they can reach the Kherson, but it wasn't artillery. It was a missile as well. So like, I think what analytic I will not go there, because the strategy that they're reaching them in nothing. Like, I mean, they're nothing getting from these strikes
Hmm.
in reality. Not the territory, not hitting the military units. They killing civilians,
They're
and
killing civilians.
they're trying to make their life a nightmare. Our people, our government bringing to that grocery stores generators, and for people would have a good price, good choice, good food, and even in that kind of conditions, having it like working and open. Even it's like completely the cuts off the electricity because of the heats, Russian heats.
Hmm.
They still trying to give people normal life. And so the Russians, no, it's not nothing. But they cannot be normal. They cannot be okay if normal life would get back to Kherson. This is about. They just can't stand it.
It's just destruction, is all it is. Of specifically civilian infrastructure and life. It's terrorism. Now, we've struck good on Melitopol today. That's supply lines, that's military targets. But I want to draw your attention now up to, and the same story is for Kramatorsk and Kharkiv. It's all civilian targets.
Hmm.
But the circle right there on the right side, of course, is representing Bakhmut tonight on the map. Ukraine made some good pushes today and pushed the Russian forces actually back a little bit in the Bakhmut eastern side. But yesterday we were talking about it's already confirmed that Wagner is being supplied by North Korea. You and I were talking a few minutes ago before the stream went live, and you said, "Are we talking about Wagner tonight?" I said, "No, we talked about them last night." He goes, "Well, we need to make mention of this. So, what do you want to bring tonight to the community in the world just to be aware of one of Ukraine's purposes in the East pushing on Bakhmut is, of course, not to win the war in our territory, but Ukraine wants to prove something. And what is that?"
Okay, the President Zelensky, he called that name, that city, fortress. It means that Ukrainian army will stand for this. It's a principle now, and it was principle for Russia to reach some more territories, and with their mercenaries like a Wagner, because seems to me from July, in the middle of July or even June, second half of the June, they have no victories in reality. No new territories, nothing. Basically, I mean some part of fields, but in reality, no. So the Bakhmut will be a public proof that Russia is losing the war.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Bakhmut will be deoccupied, then I think our guys will, yes, then we will see the reality. You know that when Russian are fleeing, leaving the territories, they usually leaving all the weapon,
Shells,
the
weapons,
artillery,
everything.
shells, everything. And I think one of the surprises can be the proof that North Korea, with all of their public lies
Mm-hmm.
to the world that they have nothing, we will see if, and I think our guys maybe will prove that it's not just something we creating, like our Ukrainian creating something like new crazy stories, but if we will get there like North Korean uh, weapon,
We can
and
prove it.
I don't know, we can prove it, and then
Unfortunately,
it
We have to do that because we can't even convince the world right now that Ukraine is not a Nazi state. We're still working to prove that. And now we have to prove North Korea supplying. We have to prove we take the drones apart and show where the components come from. It's a tragedy that Ukraine not only has to defend its sovereign territory, but at the same time prove to the world that they're
Yeah,
the good guys
yeah,
and doing it
yeah.
and doing it.
That's crazy, and we do it step by step with the help of other countries
Yes,
and real media guys, real media, real
that's
journalists.
exactly right. Well, let's jump.
So we'll
We
see.
talk about
Yeah.
North Korea. Let's now go to some Israeli intelligence. And I know we're getting some intelligence out on Wagner and North Korea from Japan. Well, we're also getting a lot of intelligence out regarding Iran from, of course, Mossad and Israel.
Hmm.
Mossad came out today and says, world, please be aware, we are confirming for the world that Iran is not only supplying Russia, but they are increasing their
Hmm.
supplies of drones and missiles in exchange for military technology, military secrets, things to make their
Hmm.
regime stronger. And Mossad said, we are seeing a partnership form by the hour, getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So this just confirms it. It's another outside looking group. And I trust
Hmm.
Mossad. I trust the Israeli Defense Forces. They're our ally.
Yeah, I do trust them as well, and I think it's just a new age. Will we see like new chapter in the world, like not like yeah, the world order, because the terrorists are looking the new context, new way of communicating and cooperating with each other. The terrorist countries, because they understand that the world will come somehow, will try to stand together, and surely they're looking for the way to stand together. This is the only way for them to survive. So, and they will try to extend it as much as possible to make this war as long as possible, to make this cooperation as long as possible, because of all the people who is ruling there. It's the only way to stand. I mean, having authority and the power there.
We've talked about North
That's.
Korea. We've talked about Iran. Now let's go to kind of a
Mhm.
not a military supplier that we know of, but definitely a partner, a friend.
Yeah.
And today, over the last 24 hours, 22 billion was frozen from the EU that is supposed to come to Hungary. And now,
Hmm.
I don't want the world to misunderstand us here. This is not because of their friendship with Russia. This is due to their viewpoint on issues. That's what the article says, and that's what the information from the EU says. However, 22 billion in aid is frozen from the EU not coming to Hungary. We'll take it regardless. They're making a statement. They're making a statement.
Okay. Surely we don't have like the missiles from the side of Hungarian neighbors, and it's good. From other side, Russia and Hungary, they have common things. Not only them, but they have common things like what? It's their attempts and yeah, their like point of view on the history, and they will be gladly happy to
Mm-hmm.
rewrite it, to rewrite and to get their positions and the territories uh, when they got temporarily after after some military activity. And yes, and they would gladly see Ukraine losing the territories, and they will be gaining it. So like in that situation would make them happy, but this is No, it's not
No.
not gonna happen.
So it's a good statement from the EU, and we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah, yeah.
unfolds. There's a lot of things happening, and we know we're moving into the Christmas, the New Year, the holidays, all this stuff. We're waiting for the next round of attacks. We'll talk about that in a moment. But before we do that, we've talked about North Korea, we've talked about Iran, we've talked about Hungary, and now we'll talk about Belarus. Tor missile systems are being pushed to the Belarusian borders. Here's a little video of the train rolling. This was today, actually, where this video came in. These are Tor systems. I'll explain those to you in just a moment. These are surface to air. Let's go back here. So what are they? They're tracked SAM systems or surface to air missiles. They are mobile systems. They move at 65 kilometers per hour, not per house, but per hour, which is about 40 miles per hour. Operational range is 25 kilometers. They are specific for all weather. It doesn't matter. Cloudy, fog, anything. They are targeting low and medium altitude, and they only stop to actually fire. They're doing all of their tracking while they're moving. And there is some stuff, as I was preparing this and researching it today, Russia is actually, and they say they already have it, but that is the technology that they do not even have to stop to fire. So, but as of right now, what we know, they stop only to fire. So this is what's being pushed to the Belarusian border, whether they're ever used or not. Regardless, they're there. And of course, they are defensive weapons. Same story, man.
Yeah, but I think it's just a demonstration. I mean, I think they're just demonstrating it to, like, I mean, we have tanks, we have that, we have that. I don't know real plans for them. Maybe Putin is pushing them to the war. For surely he is, but will they go for? I'm not sure. Like, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, will not make any statement.
Let
Seems to
me
me,
ask you.
as for me, they
Let me
will
ask
not
you
go this month.
no. Let me ask you a speculative question. We
Okay,
have
let's
seen
try.
in 10 months, you and I have witnessed for 10 months the destruction of the ground efforts of the second army in the world. Ukraine destroys their equipment, destroys their tanks. You and I have personally had Russian tanks pass us on the road that are being dragged down the road by a Ukrainian truck that will be repaired and used. We've seen it all. But almost every day, at some point, we see video, we have proof of equipment still coming and coming and coming. How much equipment does Russia have?
I don't know.
I mean, really,
A lot.
how much? We destroy it and it just keeps coming. Have they been just stockpiling for decades in preparation for something of this nature?
For sure, they were in preparation a lot of years.
It's crazy.
It's not. I mean,
it just keeps coming. And I know people will say, well, it's trashed equipment, it's Soviet equipment, or it's old equipment. It may be, but it keeps coming. It just keeps coming.
Yeah, so
it's like saying
they were.
Go ahead.
They were preparing years, collecting all of that tanks and the weapons, and so but the other countries looks like they were never preparing
It
to
looks
have
like
this
it.
situation because now a lot of countries saying we don't have weapon to help.
It's like people say many times, well, you guys talk about those S-300s a lot, and, they're not as accurate. They're not as good. And I'm sitting there going, okay, first of all, have you ever stepped in an S-300 hole crater? We both have. After it's hit the ground and destroyed a building, we've been in the hole. And no, it may not be the latest technology. It may not be the best thing in the world, but even Ukraine defense minister says, We don't know how many missiles they have. So it's just the sheer amount in volume. That is why it's good when Ukraine pushes back. Russia really does, as he said, they just leave everything. They just run. So it's how we supply. Remember, Russia is the number one supplier of weapons to Ukraine.
Yeah, some categories for sure.
Some categories,
like I mean, especially like tanks,
well,
heavy armored vehicles.
Yes, that's Belarus. The tours are coming, but additionally, the bromance is going to continue as Lukashenko is headed to Moscow. He will be there along with some other leaders from December the 24th to December the 27th, personal invitation of Vladimir Putin. I have a feeling, we'll see, there will be some information come December 28th. There will be. Putin's come to Belarus. He's had his talks. He put his little pressure on. Lukashenko made all these little speeches. But now Lukashenko's coming to the Kremlin. So we'll see. But 4 days he's supposed to be there, and we'll see what happens. Significant increase in Russian naval activity around Sevastopol. This is satellite imagery from today, or actually last night, December 22nd. Yesterday at 8:47 a.m. December 22nd, 8:47 a.m. UTC. But in addition to this, there was also notation made that they're very confident the Caliber cruise missiles have been loaded and are just floating around and in the Caspian Sea. So these are some of the reasons that Ukraine says, if the air alarm goes off, please go to where you're supposed to go. We're expecting an attack. A Christmas present, as Danilov would say.
Yeah, we'll see. Yes, so we have to be careful with that and being not ignoring the signals and the care of military guys and our government. But I think when it's time, I really do wait when this time will come. Then all of these caliber carriers, our guys will sink it down. I mean, because it's not possible. It's just wrong.
It is just wrong, and
they're still there so long time. I mean,
we've sank the Moskva. We've sank the Moskva. So that was the big boy. So we can just sink everything else, and it will be beautiful. Remember Zelensky's speech a month ago or so, where he was, we're going to celebrate when all the ships are on the bottom of the Black Sea. So it was really good. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever heard of the name Valery Gerasimov?
Yeah, a lot of
times.
Yeah.
Folks, this
is a
guy,
emotional face.
Yes. This is a gentleman that we have not spoken about at all. You've seen his face. You've seen him many times with all of the guys. He can be with Putin. He can be with Shoigu. He can be with Lavrov. He can be with Peskov. He can be with any of them. Medvedev. This is the chief of staff of the armed forces of Russia. He is on the blacklist for America. He's personally sanctioned, and he's the chief of staff. You'll see him, but he doesn't speak often. But today, he was making some speeches to not only Russian military leaders, but military leaders that are from other nations that are allies with Russia from around the world. For example, many nations from Africa had sent their delegations, and he was making some statements today. I have 3 statements I'm going to play. And Zhenya, after I play it, we'll get your response. So the first one is a minute and a half long, and he is talking about NATO. Here we go.
Результатом действий Запада также стал фактический развал системы контроля над вооружениями, сложившейся в предыдущие десятилетия. В настоящее время из всего набора инструментов контроля над вооружениями сохранился только договор ОСНВ. Однако после ограничения ковид не все механизмы этого соглашения действуют так, как было задумано до подписания соглашения. К проблемам добавились и санкционные ограничения, бездумно введенные европейскими странами на любые контакты по военной линии. Серьезное влияние на ситуацию в области безопасности Европы продолжает оказывать деятельность НАТО. Соединенные Штаты рассматривают Североатлантический союз как один из инструментов защиты именно американских интересов в глобальном масштабе, в ущерб безопасности европейских стран. Практически шаги по скорейшей интеграции Швеции и Финляндии в альянс свидетельствуют, что под надуманной угрозой со стороны России Вашингтон стремится максимально приблизить блок НАТО к нашим границам за счет вовлечения новых сателлитов. Действие Североатлантического союза только повышает напряженность и снижает уровень безопасности именно на линии соприкосновения России и НАТО.
So there you have it. He's talking about NATO, and he talks about Finland and Sweden causing the pressure by bringing them in quickly. Washington wants to push it. It's breaking all the relationships down. Let's get your response first, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay. He will be reading more and more text, which will be given to him shortly. It's the first, and I think it's just a new final race for him. This is his own, and he's on a mission right now. Yes, they will be trying to prepare the country for something, the Russia, and blaming the NATO and the United States, especially that the United States are destroying Europe, destroying the world. Pulling everything, blah, 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 because they need to do something. They need to convert it, because they are destroying everything. The international security systems, all breaking all international laws, all regulations, all agreements, everything. So they need to blame someone. And I think they're preparing. He's on a mission right now. He's preparing people. His people. Russia at first.
Let me give you a couple of my thoughts and reply to this.
Okay.
Within the last 24 hours, the Russian ambassador to the United States basically said our relationship is done. We are now in the ice age as far as the warmness of a relationship. Frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, I thought that this was a special operation to liberate Donbass and the Russian-speaking people. I didn't hear anything in that about Ukraine. All I heard was NATO, the United States, Finland, and Sweden, and the Americas destroying the earth. Would you think it's fair to say that even from the beginning, in the back of Putler's mind, he wanted this? Ukraine was just the tool. He wanted the conflict with NATO. He wanted to push back and destabilize the world. Would that be accurate? Because this is nuts.
A lot of things crazy, looks crazy. Yes, I think they didn't plan. They really had a plan to get to Kiev in 3 days. But they didn't calculate a lot of things. Like in here, their ability and Ukrainian ability. That Ukrainians are loving Ukraine. And that the president is not perfect as all the presidents, but he was elected in real. It was not faking. And our army is not there is some corruption, but not all corrupted.
That's right.
Army is not corrupted.
I got news for you.
Just because,
There's corruption in every nation.
Oh man.
Just letting you know.
I will not.
I'm just letting you know. We want to give one or two examples of Ukraine and such a corrupt, evil Nazi society. Hello, have you looked in the mirror? Wherever nation you're from, that's what happens. It's corruption. That's why we have court systems and good guys and bad guys, and it's reality. Let me play you this clip.
Okay.
Летом этого года Украина прибегла к тактике ядерного терроризма, угрожая Европе ядерной катастрофой на Запорожской атомной станции. Практически ежедневно осуществляются систематические обстрелы ее территории. И только благодаря грамотным и эффективным действиям подразделений наших вооруженных сил по прикрытию атомной станции удается сохранять в безопасности данный ядерный объект.
You know what? Don't even say nothing. Don't say nothing. That is so impossible to believe that I'm going to say it one more time. And when you're watching it again, folks, it's 29 seconds long. A lie that big needs to be heard twice. When he's talking, look up in the crowd. You'll see the different nations represented. Watch.
В этом году Министерством обороны Российской Федерации решались многоплановые...
That's not the one. Here we go.
Летом этого года Украина прибегла к тактике ядерного терроризма, угрожая Европе ядерной катастрофой на Запорожской атомной станции. Практически ежедневно осуществляются систематические обстрелы ее территории. И только благодаря грамотным и эффективным действиям подразделений наших вооруженных сил по прикрытию атомной станции удается сохранять в безопасности данный ядерный объект.
Yeah, Ukraine are, they're using the international nuclear terrorism. You hear it?
Yeah. We're shelling
So
ZNPP.
world need, Russian occupied that territory. They located the heavy armored weapon there, a MLRS system, artillery there, right there, and terrorizing. And yes, this is in reality, this is Ukraine, which was having this nuclear power station all of these years until Russian came. And now, when Russian got there, Ukraine started to use being not nuclear. We have no nuclear weapon. We never threatening the world with using the nuclear weapon, and now Russia says yes, that Ukraine is nuclear terrorists.
1 year ago we could have blown it up without any of this because we had it. We could have just blown it up. Hey,
one more time. He's reading the text in purpose. It's not just a mistake.
But you could see in the crowd the different nations represented. Right at the end of the video, you saw the guy with the earpiece, meaning he doesn't speak Russian, doesn't understand Russian. So this was nations coming together to listen to this trash and these lies. Let's go with one last one. So tonight, the title of the program, Who is Valery Gerasimov? This is who he is. Here you go. This one's about Ukraine.
В этом году Министерством обороны Российской Федерации решались многоплановые задачи. Остановимся на главной из них – специальная военная операция. Президент и министр обороны вчера на расширенном заседании коллегии подробно осветили ход ее ведения. Несколько слов добавлю. С начала 90-х годов вектор становления государственности Украины при помощи западных стран осуществлялся как антироссия. 2014 год стал апофеозом, когда в стране был осуществлен государственный переворот, и к власти пришли неофашисты, исповедующие бандеровский украинский национализм. Неофашисты развязали на юго-востоке Украины внутренний вооруженный конфликт. С их точки зрения он имел целью подавить инакомыслие, а попросту желание людей Донбасса разговаривать на русском языке. К началу этого года Украина при непосредственной поддержке западных стран трансформировалась в крайне враждебное России государство. Среди населения пропагандировалась ярая русофобия, ненацистская идеология фактически стала государственной. Проводилась активная милитаризация украинского государства и общества с целью силового возвращения Донбасса и Крыма. В целях устранения военной угрозы со стороны Украины с 24 февраля вооруженные силы решают задачи специальной военной операции. Она началась с ударов высокоточным оружием большой дальности, в ходе которых поражалась авиация на аэродромах, средства противовоздушной обороны, пункты управления, склады, арсеналы с боеприпасами. Используя результат огневого поражения, созданные группировки войск перешли в наступление в назначенных зонах ответственности.
Okay, as the millions of other Ukrainians, I was on that 2014 Maidan, at the end of 2013 and the beginning of 2014. Yes, I was standing for the freedom in Ukraine. I was standing for Ukrainian choice, which is pro-West countries, a vector not pro-Russian. I would never wish to be a part of a country which is like the same way as would never wish to be part of Nazi Germany in 1940, 42. The same would never wish to be a part of Russia, which is, trying
2022.
They are like 2022. With that, all of that statements where the presidents are lying publicly to the world, promising to respect the borders, never respects it, promising that one day he's calling Ukrainian the brothers in the short term, because Ukraine said, no, we are not brothers. We are not brothers to Nazis and terrorists. They say, okay, this is not a nation. Ukraine never. No, Ukraine is faken, artificially created. Artificially created. It's not even nation. It's just lost in the mind, lost in the history. Russians and blah 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 blah. Surely, Ukraine, made a choice.
A couple of days after Maidan ended in 2014, you were there serving as a medic, helping people who were being sniped, bleeding in your hands. I came in because I was scheduled to come in, and I arrived right after that happened. I was right down in Maidan. Buildings, the fires had just been put out. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't find a Nazi anywhere. Couldn't find a fascist. Late 2013, before this happened, I was in Donetsk. I was down there with Valentina. I was at Paduns. Remember it very well. We were in the city for a week. And I can tell you, everybody spoke Russian. And there was no problems. Everything was in Russian. This is all a lie coming out of the Kremlin, folks. All a lie.
Okay, everything. 100% coming back to...
Sorry. This is why I'm so aggressive in my point. I'm not some guy that's just talking to you because we made a friendship one time and we do this to help share the truth. I've spent over 2 years of my physical life inside the borders of Ukraine. Over 2 years of my life. All of these cities I've been to. I was there at Maidan. I was on the television with Rostislav for the Orange Revolution being interviewed about what an American viewpoint was on the Orange Revolution. I was wearing the orange ties. and I've spent time in Donetsk. I know the truth. Just try to help share it. I know the truth, as you do.
Yeah, and I think you understand. That moment we had the Maidan, the thousands, like 10, 20, 50, and more thousands of people were staying there. And then one of the guys from Belarus says, "Oh, why are you telling all of that lie?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "We have the stream right now live from Maidan. It says that probably there is 100, maybe 200 people staying there." I said, "Really? Send me that link." He sent me a link. It was created, I don't know when, maybe some night, and it was like they were changing it, but it was 100% fake. And then I said, "Okay, you want to have a real live stream?" I've sent him a real link. He said, "Man, I cannot open it because it's blocked." I said, "Yes, there is a reason why it's blocked. It's easy. Go use the other browser." I did help him to choose the browser and how to use VPN. And then he said, "Oh yes, now I see there is a difference. I don't know why they creating that picture in our minds." And then, to make this story short, I got to Maidan, one of the reasons, as a medic, because there were wounded people. And I have relatives in Russia. Hello?
Yeah.
So it was a
Hold
short
on.
conversation.
You want to repeat that again?
Okay. Yeah, I have relatives in Russia, not far from Moscow. Okay? And my father childhood was, some period of his life as well is connected with Russia. Okay. So my relatives there, they did ask me that question. Were you on the Maidan? I said, yes, sure. So you were supporting that? And by that, they did mean something they heard, never been on Maidan. But they heard what Russian propaganda was telling. I said, yes, sure. Why? It's a place where the alcohol was forbidden. The medics were checking people, their health. It was forbidden to use any kind of pills and medicine without professional care and advice. Sure, the Maidan was standing for the rights, for the freedom, and yes, nobody can shoot the people just for staying, for the freedom, saying, "Hey, we don't want to go to Russia. We want to stay for Europe and Belarus and so on." That freedom. And they said it was short. They said, "Okay, if it means that you are fascist, you are Bandera person, and you are not a relative to us anymore." This was a result not just in my family. It was last time we were talking. Yeah, I could make a joke and saying, "Okay, thank you for sharing the positions to our Ukrainian army," but they didn't do it. So it was simple and it was crazy. This is what Russia is still doing in the thousands of families. All of them were born in Ukraine during Soviet time, but because of Russian propaganda, they have no doubts as a result, being never on Maidan, never in Lviv, during, all of these 20 years, never in Kiev, checking what's going on. They absolutely had this position with no doubts that Russian TV telling truth and the only truth, and they have no doubts that it made me, without conversation, without visit of their motherland, let's say, in
Let's
their
do
eyes,
this.
the fascist and in the Bandera and so on.
There are probably people in here tonight have no idea what we're talking about Maidan. And that would have been the initial phase of this war, and that's what Gerasimov was just talking about. So let me just show two pictures. This was Maidan. This is when the Ukrainians came peacefully. They had music concerts, they had speakers, they had prayers, and they stood peacefully for their nation. This is in the Maidan Square. This is the famous statue. In the back left is the Hotel Ukraina. That is where all the snipers were hiding and shooting at all the people down here. So that's was the rally. This was taken advantage of, and this is what it ended up. 2014. So you make the look here. That's what it was. That's what they turned it into. This was the beginning of what you're seeing unfold right now when we keep referring to Maidan. And, you know, you made a reference to your father. Maybe people do not know, but he was a propaganda officer.
Officer.
In
Soviet Army.
Soviet Army, responsible for propaganda. You know what you're talking about. Let's go to one last story. We followed this the whole time.
Wait a minute. Sorry.
Yeah.
Give me 10 seconds, 20 seconds about Gerasimov. He was mentioning Zaporozhye nuclear power plant.
Yes.
He was mentioning the situation in the war, let's say, and he was mentioning the motivations and blah 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 of the involving United States. I would add the next. He was reading the text which was given to him. In the situation when Russia will lose, they will need someone to punish and to blame. They will need to bring a sacrifice, someone. So I think that man he's on a mission, and he awares what's going on.
Absolutely.
It's like a science of what they will be living.
Everything that comes out is orchestrated from the Kremlin. Everything.
Yes. So like, I mean, he was so silent many months, and now he's reading the text.
Yes.
I mean, like, became a public person. Why? Because in the minds of people who will be satisfied, just okay, we moved Gerasimov, Valery Gerasimov out. He was wrong. And they say, yeah, they fixed it. In their mind, it will be they did fix it. They will find a real one general, a real one who will represent. Maybe a little bit too late, but our country is doing absolutely everything perfectly right. Yes, they tracked and they found it was his fault.
It's kind of the reason, of course, for the three main statements he made today. And you know it was today because he referred to Putler's remarks of yesterday. Everything we share is within 24 hours each night at 9 o'clock. Now, it's interesting because that's why I shared with people when we started. You've seen his face everywhere, but you've never heard him say a word. Never. It's always his face. But now you hear him speak, and Zhenya explains to you why. As we close out tonight, let's go to this one right here, Mariupol. Unfortunately, we've got to bring this story to a close. We have watched this drama theater and got sad news to report tonight. Zhenya, as you know, there are many Ukrainians buried under that in the basement where it collapsed on them. So what that building is a war crime scene. Agreed? That's a war crime scene.
Absolutely.
Okay. We have many children buried in those basements that were killed. Now, I'm going to show this today. The theater, right? We saw the fences go up a few days ago and we shared them and, oh, well, they're going to rebuild it. I said, no, there's not enough room around that to bring materials in to rebuild it. But there's enough room to roll a tractor and destroy it. So they're covering up that war crime scene. Maybe you're here tonight watching the updates and you've stumbled onto us or watch occasionally and you go, well, maybe, that Mariupol, it's right on the border. So maybe these people wanted it to be Russia. Well, let me show you two pictures taken February the 22nd, 2022, 2 days before the invasion. Here is the first one. In front of that beautiful drama theater, you just saw it leveled to the ground. That was the drama theater 2 days before the invasion, with Ukrainians and the flags flying. And then there's another. I had lots of these pictures they released today because the theater was destroyed. And they wanted to say, look what happened. This is what the truth is. We were standing here. And then, signs like this. Mariupol is Ukraine. Mariupol, Ukraine. That's what that says. So that's the truth. And unfortunately, they have now covered that crime scene up. And that's what they're doing.
Not much comments on that.
No, there's nothing to comment. We followed that story and it's sad.
They were telling, okay, we need to protect Russian language, Russian speaking people because they have kind of pressure on them. So we want for them to be free in that. It was like, they were looking and presenting something like that. Then they started that so-called special military operation, and from that time they were changing. Just to take just this year, they were changing the story all the time, from the Russian-speaking people to it was a concentration of terrorists in Mariupol. And all the places they were destroying, it's because somehow it happened that Ukraine were throwing immediately the terrorists there.
Well, the quote
These
a couple
people
days
were
the quote a couple days ago from Putin himself was the Azovstal steel plant was the actual headquarters of the Nazi units there in Mariupol, and that's why they had to destroy it. I mean, what planet?
They are liars, and I don't want them to call.
No, it's just
talk about that because it's so ugly, ugly that people. Destroying thousands of people's. Destinies and their lives, and then they looking some explanation, which is so. Crazy, and they say, "Oh, okay, because it was terrorist." Yes, and just this, stupid person can trust it. Oh yeah, they're terrorists. Yeah.
The sad part is that beautiful drama theater's gone and it's buried. And we followed that story for about 8 months now, and unfortunately today it was leveled. So, on a positive note, Merry Christmas, everybody. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve, of course, and then the 25th, Christmas Day, 26th, the day after Christmas. So we're going to take 3 days and take a break and spend time with our families, because a week from Monday, I actually leave to meet Zhenya in Amsterdam, and then we'll head to Belgium and Ukraine. So we want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, and we want to ask you to do what we're going to do for tomorrow, Sunday and Monday. Spend time with your family. Be thankful for what you have, because it's not this. So be thankful for what you have. And we also celebrate the birth of Christ. Now, we'll say, if something crazy happens, absolutely, Zhenya and I'll be talking every day, and we'll say, hey, dude, let's get a 10-minute update up, and we'll do it. But if we just tick along as is, which may be because we know that Putin and Lukashenko and all these meetings are happening the next 3 or 4 days. We'll see. We'll be on top of it. But for sure, next certain stream will be on Tuesday, December 27th, 9 p.m. Eastern. So thank you, buddy. Merry Christmas to you.
And Merry Christmas. And I want to, when you'll be celebrating like with your family, the Christmas time, think about the people, who are, with no electricity from the February or March until now, no lights, looking for the candles, have no glasses in their windows. For the soldiers who are like fighting sometimes in the snow, sometimes in the mud for their homes, for people's life there, and they're paying their prices. And right now, we did the shipment these days, I think even tomorrow, and the medicine, norfloxacin, seems to me, antibiotic, going to our soldiers to the east by post service, Nova Posta, and the toothbrushes, the things we got requests to, we're sending in right now. It's on the way, and we helping nonstop. So let's be thankful to God, and and to all the people who taking care of us and protecting us, and not just being okay, that's good, I'm here, I'm have it, but that's good, I'm thankful. This is why I will not forget that I can be helpful somewhere where people do not have it. So yeah, and you can explain it to your kids, you can discuss it about, because this is a time it's a light time about to talk about the light, about the love, about the mercy, the grace.
Amen.
So,
beautifully said, my friend.
Thank you.
Enjoy your children, time with your wife there in Amsterdam. And of course, we'll be talking every day, but enjoy your family there for a few days. We'll be back Tuesday night, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time. Be blessed, everybody. Have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right. How about a heart from Ukraine, cherries via Amsterdam? Oh, look at that thing coming.
Oh, okay.
No, that's a circle. That's a heart.
Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry.
There we go.
Okay, I'm trying to do it perfect, but
good.
It doesn't work. It's good.
There we go. A good night to all.
Totally good night.